Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Greencow Show. I'm missing my partner today. She's off at Six Flags with a bunch of kiddos. So I wish Miranda well with all the kiddos and hope you all have a great time. So here we are. And today we're going to talk a little bit about whatever you want to talk about, but normally on Friday we talk about careers, and that's really, that's really Miranda's thing. Okay. Morning, Mark. Nice to see you here. So what I thought we'd do a little bit, and I can't find my notes, but with regard to careers, I'm one of those people who grew up in a family where dad was self-employed, and he made it pretty clear to us that being self-employed was the only option. Okay. We just didn't know any different. And so as time went on, he would make little comments like, hey, if you want to open a hot dog stand, great, that's fine, as long as you're doing it for yourself. And time continued to go on, and I did, family was a little messy, and I did move out on my own when I was 17. And I moved to Colorado, and before I moved out there, I had a job that was one of two jobs that I've had in my life, other than working in the family business when I was young. I started in 5th grade. Anyway, I moved out to Colorado. I had a job working on a construction site, of course, and it was Colorado. So as soon as winter came, I was no longer working on a construction site because everything shut down. There was lots of snow where I was, and I had to get another job. And so I did. And that job was at, I think it was Kmart at the time. I worked midnights at Kmart cleaning floors. And I did that for the winter. And that was the end of my career life. I was a framer, and then I was a floor cleaner. And at that point, I decided to start a business. I had done little things like lawn cutting and home repair kind of stuff prior to that, but it was time to start a business, which I did, and that was the first of many businesses. Some of them I just lost interest in and closed, and some of them two of them merged into bigger companies. One of them was sold. So I've been experienced in starting, merging, selling, closing, all the things that you can do with a business. I think I've done. Some of them were very interesting. Some of them I think were a little before our time. I think we were developing kind of an AI system that was really interesting, but it didn't take, but it was fun. So I've had varied industries. I've had mostly, technology, and in one case we bought a company just because they were servicing some of our projects, and they weren't doing very well as a company, but the people who worked there were pretty good, and so we bought the company and eventually sold that one too. So all kinds of interesting stuff in business. But what I'd like to allow you to talk about, if anybody wants to, is your career path. You know, a lot of people go from job to job and from industry to industry, and they write resumes and they do all sorts of things to help them get to the next level and to take the next step. And if you want to talk about anything like that, I'm happy to talk about what I know about taking next steps. And you know, how do you do that? How do you go from one business to the next business? Do you prepare in advance? Do you just go out on a limb and wing it? How well do you prepare? I can tell you that I became a master at making business plans because I had to make business plans back in those days. A lot of our ability to create a new company had to do with being able to obtain financing. And obtaining financing is not magic. It just requires the right formula. So I did learn that. So Mark, I know you've had a very interesting past with lots of different, Brandon. Good morning, Brandon. Yeah, I can't see everything. I can't see everybody, but I can see some of the notes. So hopefully I'll see any notes that people put in as questions. So Brandon, I know that you had a coffee shop and you transitioned into your own business. Well, that was your own business, and you transitioned into a different business that was your own. And if you have anything that you want to say, any lessons that you learned from that, I'm sure people would be happy to hear. Just how do you make a leap like that? Is it a leap of faith? Is it a leap of a well-calculated leap? How do you do things like that? Excuse me. So you first began with the end in mind, and that's always a good thing to do. You know, hopefully you can see what you want the end result to be, and you can work toward it with that in mind. That's a good thought, and not only for the self-employed entrepreneurs, but for people who are more comfortable in jobs. Yeah, and always, if you're creating a business, you have to create a business that you can at some point sell. Otherwise, you build it up and what happens? Maybe nothing. Yeah, so I can say that I have done that too. I mentioned a little earlier this tech company that I started. I used high school and college interns to build it. It was all AI kind of based, and it was fun and interesting, but it wasn't sellable. We never got it to the point where we had a product that we could sell. It worked, but yeah, we did not create it with the sale of the business in mind. It was just really fun. It was a fun project. Okay, so Brandon again, wish you would have sold it for more, and then used the sell money as a kind of pension for a year to launch our current business. Got it. That's so that is an example of being wise with your money, first of all, because if you can sell a business, or you can build up a little bit of cash while you're creating and running a business, then it gives you a little cushion to move on to the next project. And I can tell you that many of my projects were real estate related, buying buildings and houses. And before there was a show about flipping houses, I did over 100 of them. And that was it was both fun and it was profitable. And now I don't mess with that anymore. I was actually out on the job working those projects, and it was really fun. So Mark, you were coaching a startup entrepreneur this week. Oh, awesome. He developed a plan to start his LLC and get up and running. He doesn't want to grow a business. He wants to make enough to take care of his family and invest the remaining. Okay, that's cool. That's an awesome thing. I know that you're working on a project to do just that, to help startups get their legal stuff, the LLC in this case, up and running, and to to get the business moving. You know, a lot of us have trouble getting businesses moving, and I can tell you, with using Greencow as an example, and this is a project that is dear to me and to Miranda. And it takes a lot of work to get this moving. This is not like any other business that I've done, and this takes time to develop relationships with people, and you have to develop relationships with people in order to make something move. Good comments. Okay, well, part of the benefit for me of having this community is meeting and developing relationships with people who do all kinds of different stuff, and good stuff, and stuff that's going to help all the people that I know and all the people in the community. Yeah, we have financial people like Brandon, and business people like Mark. Mark is also a kind of a financial person as well. His brother, who's not here this morning, as far as I know, Matt, is an attorney. And we just have such a wide range of people who know things that all of us need. And when we can get together like this and just talk about stuff that's important to us, we all benefit. So I'm thankful to all of you for the community that we've built so far. And yes, we have a long way to go, but I believe that we'll get there. And it's fun right now. It'll continue to be fun. I don't know if nobody has mentioned anything about their time commitment. You know, I can tell you that as a lifelong entrepreneur, we know that we are free to work 100 plus hours a week if we want to. And often we do it, hopefully not for long periods of time. But one of the freedoms we have as an entrepreneur is to work as much as we want. We don't often have the choice to work as little as we want, but we can certainly work as much as we want. And that's a whole other topic. Okay, any other comments, thoughts, questions, challenges, complaints? No complaints today. That's for Miranda. She's the complaint department. I can talk about sailing too. You know, today's Friday, weekend's coming up. Summertime in the Chicago area means I'll be out on Lake Michigan as much as possible. And I love to take people out sailing. I've had people out who've never sailed before. I've had people who've never been on a boat before out for sailboat rides. So if that's interesting to anybody in this community, and I know it is for a few because I've been contacted by a few people, and hopefully we'll get that going. And so that's just kind of a side note. If you're interested in going sailing on Lake Michigan, I am a former U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Marine captain, and although I'm not active now, I know how to sail a boat, so I'd be happy to. And I have people who want to come on and learn stuff about sailing. They want to learn knots, and they want to know what all the different things are on a sailboat. But I guess it's kind of like what Mark does for business people. He shows them all the different things that they need to know, about starting a business and getting their LLC. And it's kind of a parallel activity to what I do on the sailboat. The other thing that I'm developing is this virtues in business. First of all, I try to do whatever I do as part of my quest for understanding and following God's plan for my life. Sometimes we don't really get that clear. We don't have a clear message about what we think God wants us to do in our lives. But I chose the Virtues Project because there's nothing about virtues that can be hurtful to anybody. Caring and loving and kindness and all the things that are virtues, they're good for people, so they're good for business, and we don't necessarily see enough about that. So, Mark, you have a comment. You talked about how your dad encouraged you in the entrepreneur space. Yes. Do you do the same for your kids? Okay, great. Well, I have 3 kids. My wife and I have 3 kids. And of the 3, 2 of them are entrepreneurs and 1 is a doctor. So, yes, we did encourage that. I think they just saw as we grew up how we lived. And and I think that it became interesting enough for 2 of the 3 to do that. And one of them, she has wanted to be a doctor since she was in about 4th grade. And she's a wonderful doctor. And so that was her path. It's a little different. It's not so entrepreneurial, but it is a huge commitment. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work somewhere, your commitment to your career or your business is huge. And I can tell you that Emily's commitment to her path is huge. So let's see. I'd love to hear your thoughts on balancing being an entrepreneur and that. You know what was cool growing up as an entrepreneur? Yes, I worked a lot, but I also had the freedom to take a few hours off and be a field trip dad or a softball coach. I did those things, and it's funny how kids remember the strangest things. We once went on a field trip with my youngest daughter, and I was the field trip dad. There wasn't usually very many field trip dads, but I brought along a bag of Skittles, and she'll remember that to this day because she was in the cool group because her dad had Skittles. Something so little can have such an impact. So yes, I did get out of balance for stretches of time, for sure, where I just worked a lot. I worked and worked and worked and worked, and that took a toll. It caused an episode where we had a vacation planned. It was planned for a long time, and the morning that we were to leave, this big limo pulls up in our driveway to take us to the airport, and I could not get in it. It's the first time that I experienced anxiety, and I called my doctor right away. We talked about it. He said, "Yeah, you work too much. In those days they called them workaholics." And even though I took the time to spend with the kids and field trips and coaching softball and all that kind of stuff, I worked so much that my body kind of rejected the whole idea of going on vacation. It's like not what I'm supposed to do. And, you can take a few hours here and there, but you're not going to take 10 days. So there was a huge disconnect between my mind and my body. And it was a really challenging 10 days. I finally, hate to admit this, but I finally took a shot of NyQuil to get me settled enough to get into the limo to go to the airport. I mean, I walked around the block a couple of times. I just could not get into the car. It was the strangest thing ever. So I got the number of a doctor in Utah. We were going to Utah skiing, and I had that name and number in my pocket the whole time. It was just here we are in the beautiful mountains of Utah and skiing and all, and every time I got off track and started thinking about this anxiety thing that I had never experienced before, I suffered. suffered. So yes, the lesson for today is always bring Skittles. And be involved in the fun stuff. Like Miranda is so awesome. She's spending the time, several days here with her kids, going to Six Flags and having fun and going on rides and all that kind of stuff. Those are things that are really important to kids, the ability to do that. And the fact that she's there with them is very cool. And so congratulations, Miranda. You're doing a good thing. So I don't know how I got on all that anxiety stuff, but what I found when I got back, I started to talk to some of my friends who were CEOs and bank owners and bank presidents and things like that. And what I found was a lot of people in higher places have struggled with anxiety from time to time. And so if that's you, you're not alone. That's a huge thing. It's just, we're not designed to be under so much pressure for so long all the time. We need to have some balance. And Mark, you mentioned balance. Yeah, balance is a big thing for me. I understand that we get off balance for a while. We're working too hard, but moving back toward the middle. And balance is not a destination. It's just like excellence is not a destination. It's a kind of a movement. So balance is something that we try to move toward. We try to recognize when we're off balance, when we're not doing enough work, or we're doing too much work, or we're not getting enough adventure in our lives, or we're not, whatever it is, we can get off balance. There are a number of areas identified in life that are important for balance. And the object of the game is not to be that perfectly balanced person. I don't know that anybody is, but the object is to be aware of where you are on that scale of balance, which it kind of goes from lifestyle, to me, lifestyle, adventure, and work are the three pieces. Lifestyle is everything about how you live, your quality of life, your standard of living, all of that in lifestyle. Adventure can be very simple. For some of us, adventure is bigger than for others. I did a live yesterday. It was one of my word for the days. And one of my friends, Scott, messaged in and was part of the conversation. He was in Costa Rica. He does adventure tours for people who want to learn to develop better relationships. And so he took the time out to have a few words with me, and I appreciate that. He lives in the States, but he and his wife, they do these relationship therapy adventures in Costa Rica and in other places, really beautiful places. So that's how he finds some balance too. For me, sailing has a lot to do with it now. In the past, I've had all kinds of adventures, from flying airplanes to hot air balloons and scuba diving and just all kinds of different stuff. Thank you for agreeing. Balance is a how, not a what. It's not a single point destination that you're trying to achieve. It's it's all about how you get there. Great. Well, this has been kind of fun talking about stuff that's totally unrelated. If any of you want to continue any of these conversations, I'd be happy to take you out on the sailboat and we could have a little mild adventure. I don't take people out when the weather's bad, although I have been in really nasty weather sailing. And by the way, we're in the Chicago area, and many people don't realize the size of Lake Michigan. This isn't the largest of the Great Lakes. I think it's third, but it's big enough that it can have some really big weather, and mostly in the late fall, early winter, we'll get waves of 30 feet on occasion. Now I've been in 10 to 12 foot waves, and that's enough. And it's different. 10 to 12 foot waves on Lake Michigan is very different than 10 to 12 foot waves on the ocean. The ocean has much larger time period between waves, and so they're big rollers mostly, whereas in Lake Michigan they'd be choppy. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed all that totally unrelated stuff. And Chrissy's here. Hi, dear. Yeah. She was there when I had that anxiety thing. And I tell you, if any of you struggle from time to time with anxiety, I don't seem to do that. I don't have that anymore. I've changed my lifestyle dramatically. And but I feel for anyone who is struggling with anxiety. Find help. Find somebody who you respect, who has been through it and who has learned to manage it. For me, it had everything to do with paying attention to life and not just work all the time. Well, thank you, Mark. We're at about time here, so I want to thank you all for being here, for commenting. I hope you didn't mind me rambling too much, but hey, I guess that's what I do. All right, well, it's a beautiful day. It was really cloudy this morning, and I saw that there was a chance of rain in the Chicago area, but it seems to be pretty sunny right now. It's going to be warm. I think we're going to have a beautiful weekend, and I don't know that we'll have room on the sailboat for anybody this weekend, but if you're interested, let me know, and I'll try to make that happen for you during the summertime. Summertime is short. It's really only about 10 weeks long, for sailing. And so, if that's something that is interesting to you, let me know, and I'll try to make that happen. I know there are some of you already who have contacted me, so I'll be sure to reach out and do that. And that's about it. So today, do something really nice for somebody else. And if you have the resources, and I know some of you do have the resources, do something really nice for a whole bunch of people today and every day. Let's help make this world a better place. Okay? That's all for now. I wish you a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.